Federal agents insist this lead goes nowhere, but veteran detectives disagree completely, and that crucial 8-minute window is the key to it all. We're not dealing with mere speculation here. We have hard video proof of cars moving along an escape route from the victim's subdivision right when authorities think the abduction occurred. An ex-New York police detective has gone on record claiming he pinpointed the specific car model by breaking down the clip frame by frame. Yet almost immediately after the video surfaced, a federal source told the press it had absolutely no connection to the crime. They brushed it off in one night while she has been gone for 27 days. Things just do not align, and nearly a month into Arizona's biggest manhunt, those inconsistencies are far more telling than the facts that fit. Before diving deeper, if you are tracking this investigation and need breaking news instantly, hit subscribe and enable alerts right now because we stick strictly to the facts here. Our focus is on tangible proof police records and holes in the official story, ensuring every single point is backed by citations. We double-check every chronology and only raise questions grounded in police confirmations or solid journalism. Smash the like button if you believe families and the community deserve full honesty in investigations like this one. The evidence I am presenting creates serious issues that detectives will be forced to address sooner or later. First, let us look at the statement federal agents gave to TMZ earlier today. Their insider claims the security video revealing 12 cars driving through the foothills from midnight to 6 a.m. on February 1st is essentially worthless. They argue that the specific location of traffic, along with the entry and exit points used, convinced the Bureau that these drivers were completely unrelated to the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. This denial came out this morning, but Fox News Digital only broke the story last night, implying the feds processed this data, checked the paths, vetted every car, and made a final decision all in under 12 hours. Just 12 short hours. That seems incredibly quick for a team that has spent 27 days knocking on doors, watching endless video, and chasing 21,000 leads. Here's the actual evidence they discarded so fast, captured by a doorbell camera belonging to Elias and Danielle Strategales, who live right in the victim's subdivision. They live on North Camino Real, a quiet side street located about 2.5 miles from Nancy's house. The device recorded from midnight until 6 in the morning on February 1st, but the key movement happened right around 2:30 a.m., which is hardly a coincidence. Sheriff Chris Nanos confirmed that Nancy's heart device lost connection with her phone at exactly 2:28 a.m. Authorities suspect that 2:28 marks the moment she was taken, or when the Bluetooth signal was manually cut. Regardless, 2:28 is the pivotal moment for the whole case, so pay close attention to the sequence of events. The neighbor's camera spotted a car driving by at 2:31 a.m. just 3 minutes after the signal died. Then a second car appeared at 2:36 a.m., exactly 8 minutes after the disconnect, leaving us with one remote road and no answers. If a kidnapper grabbed her at 2:28 and wanted a fast exit that dodged main roads and traffic cams, North Camino Real is the perfect path. It takes precisely 8 minutes to drive from Nancy's place to where that camera was recording. The family told reporters that the trip between the two houses usually takes about 7 minutes. At 2:30 in the morning with clear roads, you could make that drive even faster. Reports indicate this specific path offers a way out of the foothills without hitting any major junctions. It is not a main artery, meaning nobody drives there unless they are locals or trying to stay off the grid. The situation gets stickier when you realize the camera location is roughly 2.5 miles from the scene. When agents first swept the area looking for security video, they blasted digital requests to residents within a 2-mile circle of Nancy's home, asking for clips from January 1st through February 2nd. But the Strategales property was just beyond that line, so police never reached out or requested their files. Nobody even bothered to knock on the door to check for suspicious activity. Danielle mentioned to the press that she and her husband thought it was strange police had ignored their street for nearly 4 weeks. While she noted that the traffic volume that night wasn't particularly weird, she and a friend checked the logs after hearing the news, saw the timestamps, and called the police immediately. That is the only reason we know about this video today. It wasn't due to federal thoroughness, but because alert citizens did their own detective work and flagged something that looked important. Stop for a moment because this point is critical. The FBI has consistently told the public they are combing through tens of thousands of hours of security footage. They have highlighted the gathering, reviewing, and analyzing of these clips as a cornerstone of their entire investigation. Just yesterday, a Bureau official admitted to NBC News that they have stockpiled nearly 10,000 hours of tape. 10,000 hours scrutinized by agents. However, the single clip revealing car movement on a back exit from Nancy's subdivision, right when her heart monitor failed, was missed by federal investigators. It was found by local residents living just outside the search zone, who decided to check the feeds for themselves. Now we need to discuss the car that drove by at 2:36 in the morning. Pat Bruin, a retired New York City detective, examined the Ring camera video and shared his professional analysis with Fox News. Bruin believes one of the cars in the clip looks like a Kia Soul, pointing to the slanted roof window shape and upright taillights. This man isn't just guessing. He spent decades working cases in New York City law enforcement. He is an expert at dissecting video evidence, and he is publicly stating he identified the specific car model leaving Nancy's area 8 minutes after her device went dark. That is the car they are ignoring. If Browen is right, detectives have a concrete vehicle model to hunt down. While the Kia Soul isn't on every corner, it is unique enough that checking sales and registrations would be a feasible task. Identifying owners in the Tucson region should be a manageable job for a major inquiry. Agents have already stated they are working with stores to track down buyers of that specific backpack seen in the doorbell video. Why not use that same approach for Kia Soul ownership, cross-reference Pima County records with the timeline? Pinpoint which Kia Soul owners live near or have ties to the Catalina Foothills District. Filter that list using cell tower data and travel routes from the night of February 1st. This is standard detective work. Despite this, the Bureau quickly dismissed the footage, claiming it had no link to the case. Why? What could they possibly see in under 12 hours to dismiss a car on an escape route the very moment Nancy was taken? The agency hasn't explained that. Sources only told the media that traffic analysis proved the cars were unrelated. However, the residents who actually live there and know those roads disagree completely. They insisted to Fox News that North Camino Real is definitely a valid exit route from Nancy's neighborhood. Jim Clemente, a retired profiler and federal agent, noted this week that asking the public for tips is a powerful way to shrink the suspect pool. He proposed that the agency should publicly invite anyone driving there between 1 and 3 o'clock in the morning on February 1st to contact authorities, even if they have nothing to report. He pointed out that if they identify a car owner who doesn't volunteer their info, that silence itself becomes a huge red flag. It isn't just Clemente who is questioning how fast this video was tossed aside. Several retired officers told the press they were shocked the Bureau would ignore evidence so quickly while claiming to chase every lead. The Pima County Sheriff stated just 2 days ago that the case is active and won't stop until Nancy is found or every lead fails. Ignoring footage of cars on a getaway path 8 minutes after the victim's heart monitor stopped doesn't sound like exhausting every lead. It sounds like they are doing the exact opposite. I'm going to review the timeline again because the precision here is exactly why we can't ignore this footage. At 2:28 a.m., Nancy's pacemaker lost its connection with her iPhone. Police think this is when she was snatched, or perhaps when someone manually killed the Bluetooth signal on her device. At 2:31 a.m., the first car drives past the Strategua home on North Camino Real. That is 3 minutes after the signal cut. Then at 2:36 a.m., a second car passes by 8 minutes after the event. Check those timestamps one more time. If you are kidnapping someone from a quiet suburb at night and need to stay hidden, you don't use the main roads. You avoid traffic cams. You don't drive where people might see you or where automated readers can capture your plate. You stick to the side streets. You choose the paths that keep you invisible. And if you plan it out, you use 2 cars. One to transport the victim, the other to tail behind and watch for trouble. 2 vehicles exited Nancy's neighborhood within 8 minutes of her pacemaker shutting down. Taking a back road to skip the major intersections isn't proof of guilt on its own. But it is definitely a lead that demands a real investigation instead of an overnight dismissal. That is the conflict here. The FBI calls it a dead end. The neighbors call it an escape route. Former officers claim the distinct car and the specific time demand close scrutiny, but that isn't all. A major news outlet confirmed a local resident spotted a shady figure on February 2nd, the day after she vanished. She described him as roughly 5'9" Hispanic with a groomed beard and a silver wrist chain. He was smoking a cigarette while lurking near a junked car just around the bend from the main road. That height of 5'9" aligns perfectly with the suspect profile captured on the front door video. Federal agents characterized that person as a male of average build, standing between 5'9" and 5'10". Since this sighting happened on February 2nd, just a day after the crime, it points to a potential escape path. Circling back the next day to retrieve a ride or check if the coast is clear is actually standard criminal behavior. Offenders frequently revisit the scene of their transgression. They check dump sites and locations linked to their acts because they need to know if detectives are watching. The witness noted that the man stood out immediately because he was not dressed for a hike. He wasn't exercising, he was just loitering by a derelict car in a spot where folks rarely tread. Having a man who fits the federal profile standing on the escape route 24 hours later is significant. Yet this is another critical detail that the authorities have not publicly addressed so far. There is more, as reports state another neighbor saw a stranger weeks earlier near the street leading to the house. That resident noted the individual was definitely not wearing typical walking gear. With a hat pulled low to hide his face, he seemed too young and tense for a leisurely stroll. Locals confirmed they had never encountered this character before that day, or any time since. Mid-January is weeks prior, yet it fits smoothly into the calculated timeline we are seeing here. We are looking at signs of casing reconnaissance and pre-operational groundwork. Official video from January 23rd shows a figure walking backwards down the street near the residence. Experts say this odd movement suggests he was checking for cameras or testing response times. Finding another lurker in mid-January with a concealed face and no clear purpose raises alarms. It suggests the casing phase began well before the 23rd, urging us to view the full picture. You have the shadowy figure in mid-January, followed by the reverse walking scout on the 23rd. Then comes February 1st with 2 cars on a back road at 2:30 in the morning, right after the heart monitor stopped. Finally, on February 2nd, a man matching the suspect description appears by a junked car on that same route. Each clue points to a planned mission by a team that studied the terrain and timing for weeks. The Bureau has not publicly connected these separate sightings. They remain silent on whether the mid-January lurker or the strange reverse walker are the same person. Nor have they confirmed if the doorbell suspect and the man spotted on February 2nd are linked. However, citizens are joining the dots, and the timeline supports their theories better than it refutes them. We must discuss why agents dismissed that road footage, as insiders say they relied on geofencing tech. That digital tool lets police pull records to see exactly which mobile devices were in a zone at a set time. If they cast a digital net over that street between 2 and 3 in the morning on February 1st, they would theoretically capture a log of every single phone that connected to a local tower then. Detectives could then name the owners and cross-reference them against vehicle registrations. This process allows them to potentially rule out specific cars based on travel patterns. If all 12 vehicles matched active signals and those drivers were vetted and cleared properly, then the agency would have valid grounds to disregard the video evidence entirely. But the family claims police never reached out until the news broke, meaning agents were never there. They failed to secure the tapes and apparently had no clue that street was a getaway path until yesterday. Here is the other glaring flaw. If these perpetrators were skilled enough to run recon for weeks, if they knew how to kill the camera feed and perfectly time their arrival to stay unseen, and if they could extract an 84-year-old woman in silence without waking a soul next door, these perpetrators were definitely savvy enough to leave their mobile devices at home. The Bureau has publicly verified that they detected 0 cellular signals near the victim's estate during that crucial window, proving the attackers went dark. Odds are they communicated using handheld walkie-talkies or maintained total radio silence. If these suspects ditched their phones, a digital dragnet fails completely, catching only the 10 or 11 innocent commuters passing through by chance. But clearing those 10 bystanders doesn't mean the remaining couple of cars on that tape didn't belong to someone who intentionally left their tech behind. Retired profiler Jim Clemente highlighted this specific flaw when he spoke to the press recently. He argued that if a vehicle on that surveillance tape shows absolutely no digital footprint or tracking data, that silence actually makes it more suspect, not less, since normal drivers at 2:30 in the morning almost certainly have their phones. Modern cars are equipped with navigation systems and emergency tracking features like OnStar running in the background. If a car shows up on video without a matching electronic signature, that ride should shoot to the top of the priority list rather than being tossed aside. What really makes you scratch your head is just how incredibly fast they made that call. It took less than 12 hours from the moment the story broke online until an insider leaked to the tabloids that it was a nothing burger. 12 hours to run a geofence, identify the owner of every single pinging device, and track those people down. Then they would have to vet their alibis and cross-check everything against vehicle registration records. To claim with certainty that not one of those 12 rides is linked to the kidnapping is miraculously efficient police work, if it's true. But for that to hold water, every single car on that tape had to match a specific cell phone signal. You would also need to reach every driver instantly and validate their excuses on the spot. You are piling one assumption on top of another there, especially when you compare it to the pace of the rest of the case. Agents took weeks just to pull video from the victim's doorbell because they had to rebuild the data after the unit was smashed. Recovering that evidence required serious man-hours and high-level technical skills. The DNA sample from the glove found 2 miles away was run through CODIS, the national database, and it came back clean, so now they are shipping it off for genetic genealogy testing, which drags on 4 months. Officials stated publicly that they are combing through 10,000 hours of security tape. That job demands watching in real time, since fast-forwarding risks overlooking a vital clue. Real investigation takes time. Slow grinding, exhaustive time, yet somehow 12 cars fleeing 8 minutes after the victim died were cleared overnight. It is hard to make sense of that contradiction, but let us look at what the authorities did not mention. They never explicitly stated that they watched the clips and determined they were irrelevant. Instead, they claimed their analysis of entry and exit points proved there was no link, which is very specific phrasing. That implies their decision was based on the road itself, rather than actually vetting the individual vehicles. However, locals who know the terrain have gone on record stating that North Camino Real is definitely a way out of the foothills. One network described it as a back road that lets you bypass all the major junctions. That detail comes straight from reporters on the ground, not random guesses. If the feds believe that street is not a valid getaway path, they are ignoring the people who actually live there. On the flip side, if they claim to have cleared all 12 cars by identifying the owners, they haven't explained how they pulled that off so fast, or why not one driver has spoken up to say they were interviewed. Another loose end is the second car, since the camera caught 2 vehicles passing within 5 minutes of each other at 2:31 and 2:36. If this was a coordinated hit involving a crew using a pair of cars, makes perfect tactical sense. The lead vehicle handles the transport of the target. The trail car runs interference watches for tails or acts as a distraction if the cops show up too soon. Just because two cars took the back way out minutes apart does not prove they were working together. However, it fits the pattern of how organized crime rings operate. That is exactly the sort of clue that demands a deeper look rather than being waved off instantly. Sheriff Chris Nanos mentioned to the press that they are zeroing in on the suspect's outfit from the sneakers to the jacket seen on camera. He noted that detectives are collaborating with brands and stores to pinpoint exactly where those items were sold. Now that is the type of detailed police work that actually adds up. Real investigative work is a grind that demands patience and absolute precision to build a case that sticks. Yet while local deputies spend days tracking down a specific sneaker transaction, federal agents somehow managed to discard crucial getaway footage in under 12 hours. These two approaches are completely at odds. Either that video clip holds genuine value for the inquiry, meaning it deserves the same rigorous analysis applied to every other clue, or it truly holds zero significance, prompting the Bureau to clearly articulate why the specific timestamp, the path taken, and the car match confirmed by a veteran investigator don't matter at all, especially since Nancy Guthrie has been gone for 27 days. A $1 million bounty has just been posted by her loved ones for any tip that brings her back, regardless of her condition. Yesterday, Savannah took to Instagram with a heartbreaking video plea urging anyone holding onto secrets to finally speak up. Her words were haunting as she insisted that a specific person holds the key to bringing her back, imploring them to end the silence immediately. Meanwhile, the Puma County Sheriff's Department verified this week that the file is still open and manpower is being shifted to support the lead detectives. Federal agents have transferred a portion of their command operations up to Phoenix, though they are keeping field agents active locally in Tucson while claiming to chase down every single credible theory. However, that claim rings hollow when potential breakthroughs are being tossed in the trash in less than half a day. We are talking about camera recordings of cars on a prime getaway road during the window of disappearance being dismissed before the community even heard about them. They are completely disregarding the professional assessment of a former detective regarding the car model, and telling longtime residents that their knowledge of local entry and exit roads is wrong, which frankly smells very wrong. When an 84-year-old lady who can barely walk vanishes for almost a month, anything that looks suspicious needs a microscopic review. Let me be absolutely precise about the point I'm making and the lines I'm not crossing. I am not declaring the feds are mistaken, nor am I claiming those specific cars are 100% linked to the kidnapping of Nancy Guthrie. My goal is not to point fingers at specific agents for being bad at their jobs or hiding the truth. My argument is simply that tossing out evidence so quickly and confidently feels totally out of sync with the slow, careful pace seen elsewhere in this case. Whenever you see a glaring inconsistency like that, it begs for a clear answer. We deserve to understand the logic behind the Bureau's decision. Did they tag every single license plate and speak to every driver? Was there a car in that tape that didn't match up with any active cell phone signals or satellite tracking logs? Did those motorists have solid alibis for driving through that remote spot at that exact moment? Because asking this is standard procedure. These are the exact inquiries any reporter or worried neighbor would make upon hearing that key clues were dumped without a word. Now, if the federal team is actually right, and that video clip is a total dead end, then showing us the math on how they got there would only boost our faith in their work. But if they messed up or rushed the call, then taking a second look at those cars could be the key to cracking this whole thing wide open. Regardless of the outcome, staying quiet helps no one. Nancy and her relatives are owed much more than that. Plus, the community that has sent in over 21,000 leads and watched every update with bated breath has earned the right to know why obvious clues are being brushed under the rug with zero context. We are far from finished here. The hunt goes on, and the mystery of that videotape is not just going to vanish. If you saw any cars driving through the Catalina foothills during the early hours of February 1st, please call the feds immediately, especially if you drive a Kia Soul and were in the vicinity, even if you think it means nothing. Most importantly, if you hold even the smallest detail regarding the fate of Nancy Guthrie, do the right thing and speak up today. Make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss breaking news. Ring that notification bell and pass this report along to other sleuths because we need to keep the pressure on for answers. When seconds determine survival, ignoring leads in under 12 hours without a reason is something we simply cannot accept. It has been 27 long days since she vanished. A guilty party knows her location, and they are likely watching this right now. Imagine 27 days of agonizing silence. For 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, that silence isn't just a lack of sound, it's a void where a life used to be. The mystery unfolding in the Arizona foothills is more than a headline. It's a haunting reminder that in the quest for justice, the smallest detail is never small. While massive agencies may sift through 10,000 hours of footage and miss a crucial 8-minute window, it was the watchful eyes of ordinary neighbors who found the truth hidden on a doorbell's camera. This teaches us a profound lesson. We are each other's greatest shield. Technology like geofencing can fail, and experts can rush to judgment, but the intuition of a community that refuses to look away is irreplaceable. When you see a stranger loitering where they shouldn't be, or a car passing in the dead of night, remember Nancy. Our vigilance is the only thing standing between a loved one and the shadows. Justice isn't just found in a high-tech lab. It's found in the courage to speak up and the heart to never let a neighbor be forgotten. Don't just watch the news, watch out for one another, because when seconds determine survival, your voice is the most powerful tool we have.